All right, hey, it's Ronin Man for episode 3, and we're here in a beautiful park. I got a friend here. He's going to interview me. We're going to ask a few questions and try to see if we can get some wisdom here. Not too much of a schedule here, just going over a few ideas about how guys can go their own way, what to be, you know, what to worry about, what to be careful about, what to think about. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
Hey, hey everybody. So at first I'd like to just start by asking, this is a topic that's been on my mind for a while, which is about marriage. Just because I'm a fairly young guy, and it looks like it looks like it's just a common way to go. And it just doesn't, from a logical point of view, I'm sure like many of you have thought about this before, it just doesn't make much sense. I mean, you give up practically half of your money, and you're tied to the government. It's a whole hassle. What if your relationship isn't the same anymore? So I would just ask, what are your thoughts on marriage, and how do you prevent marriage without losing the relationship? It's
All right. Yeah. Marriage is a great topic. Especially, I don't know what exact age, but anytime from like, I think probably 18 years old to 30 is the most dangerous time, for getting married. When I was in that age, like all my friends were getting married, and I went to, endless weddings, and, I just,
really.
I don't know, yeah, oh gosh, I don't know how many $100,000 I gave to people, for their weddings, because you have to give money, right? You got to bring presents, right? Whereas it's funny when you're single, nobody gives you anything, right? Never get anything when you're single. So I think what is dangerous about getting married for guys is girls, like, generally obviously want to get married. It's one of the biggest goals of many females. And again, I say that there's all types of females. Obviously there's women who like women, there's women who never want to get married. There's asexual type of women, and there's really driven PhDs and type of women. There's all types of women. But if you're a guy, the type that you're going to generally meet are the type that want to get married, because they'll be the ones who come to you, right? And want to date you. So I think the first thing I would say is that it's a time limited thing. So, it's not like your whole life. It gets a lot better after you're 30 years old, I think.
how
Just the pressure, there's less pressure. It's like in that age, there's this white hot age when like everybody's talking about marriage. Girls want to get married, your parents want you to get married, your grandparents want you to get married. And I think like a lot of people, it's like your family pressure is pretty heavy, It's like if your grandparents want you to get married. I mean, I know some grandparents that they essentially stayed alive to watch their grandkids get married.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
yeah, like they were like frail and old, and they just gritted it out. And then as soon as the son got married, they died like a week later. These are some Chinese friends of mine, and it was obvious, like, and people even talk about it, like in China, like the grandparents, like, they hold on, they want to see. They think it's so important to get married for kids in China and families in China. So there's enormous pressure, and depends on where your family's from and how much pressure you get. I think definitely different cultures have different level of pressure for marriage, and different families have different levels of pressure, right? If you're a single kid, you're going to get more pressure because your parents want to see. A lot of them want to see grandkids.
Okay.
So that's like super dangerous. If you're an only kid and you're a man, there's no women, there's no other brothers. There's going to be a heck of a lot of pressure on you, and you're going to feel. I think you feel a little bit guilty because when you realize how much parents love grandkids, like when your friends have them, and you see them so happy, you want to give that to them, right? You want to give it to them, like you want to make them happy, like they helped you, your parents raised you and everything. But I mean, at the same time, you don't owe anybody this kind of thing. This is you only get one chance to live, right? And then you cannot like give it away to people, even if you really feel bad for other people. You have to really think for a second. I mean, I'm not saying don't think about people. I mean, if you're thinking about getting married, you want to get married, then it's good to think about what your family wants and everything. But I mean, if you're not into it, or you haven't found the right person, it's just like crazy to even think about it. And that's the thing is, I think most people get married without even thinking. I think that's one of the most dangerous things. Is like, I remember when I was 19. I remember when I was 19. This girl, we were getting drunk at this party, and she like grabbed me, and she had like huge boobs. This girl, like massive boobs. Her parents were Yugoslavian, and she
You still remember?
yeah, I totally remember. I remember her name and everything. So she dragged me upstairs to this party, and it was really weird because at that age I wasn't so good at game. I wasn't, so like it wasn't usual for a girl to pull me in the bed and want me to, like take her right then. But this girl like dragged me in there, and we did it. And then as soon as she was done, she said, I feel pregnant.
Oh my god.
And I was like, whoa. And then it turns out that she was pregnant, but I don't think it was my kid, and she was 19 and I was 19, and she said to me, she called me, and I remember we went to Marie Callender's, I remember, and she said, I'm pregnant and I'm going to have the kid.
So how long after that, after the sex was that?
I don't remember. Within a few months, it was like, yeah, like it might have been 2 months or something, and she was a good girl. I think the other thing for guys to realize is that girls can be like pretty bad for you, and they can still be good girls, like in general. It doesn't mean they're good for you, right?
Okay.
You have to separate. You can't just put them as that girl's evil. That girl's. It's like, what is this situation? Is this good for me? Like it's very dangerous if you judge the girl alone, because most girls are pretty cool. They're fine, right? But they can be really bad for you, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to get married, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're just doing this mindlessly, following whatever path that you were given, it's stupid. It doesn't. Marriage is like the biggest thing, and it's forever. It's for the rest of your life. As soon as you have that baby, you'll never be the same, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta really want to do it. It's kind of like you were saying earlier. It's either hell yeah or no.
Yeah.
Any question in your life. If it's kind of like, oh yeah, I could do that, and you're talking about having kids and getting married, then I would say definitely I would slap myself aside the head and say, wait a second, you don't want to get married yet. You don't really want to get married. Otherwise, you would be very excited about it, And the other risky thing is like your first love. Like it's super risky.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
Oh, dude, my first love. I loved her so much. We dated 15 to 19, and she was, I just thought she was perfect, and she was awesome, and we had a great relationship and everything. But then we grew apart. Actually, we're still friends today, but she ended up having like 5 kids, and which is really funny because her life kind of followed mine, and she lives in Asia too, and she speaks Chinese too, which is really weird. Yeah, yeah, it's unusual. But and she actually saw me out of a taxi one time in a country that she didn't even know I was there, and she called me. She found my phone number and she called me, and she's like, I just saw you outside of a taxi. I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing here? It's so weird how our lives were intertwined, But either way, so she was very dangerous for me, and luckily she left me when I was 19, and she had a very good reason. She was quite religious, and she wanted to follow what she was doing, and I wasn't into it, So I think I've been saved. Like, I've been in the lion's den, in the mouth of the lion, and then I've been let loose a couple times, because no guy is perfect, right? I'm pretty tough, actually, when it comes to girls. But at the same time, nobody's perfect. Every guy gets got. That's the other thing you got to know, is you can't be forever vigilant, right? Like protecting yourself. Like there's many ways to get married, right? You can get a girl pregnant and have to get married, or feel like you have to get married, or whatever, you end up being married, right? Or a girl can move in with you, and then she just stays there, and then after a certain amount of years, you guys are basically married anyway,
Yeah, but then you don't have the legal contract.
But often you do it. When you're together, there's a lot of pressure from her.
Yeah.
What she wants become what you want, and it just kind of like slowly the vice grip.
It's like slow death.
Well, it's that, I don't know if it's a death. I don't want to say it's a death, but it's in general. Whenever a man and woman live together, the woman owns the house. That's why guys make their man cave, is because the house is not theirs anymore. So they have to retreat to some room that they can call their own. So that's living with a woman. She just naturally takes over the house, and that's one beautiful thing about being single, is you always own your own house. You can change the lock, you can change the key. So I think I don't want to say like that you don't want to get married, because I don't know what you want to do. I don't know for sure, but I can say for me, especially when I was in my 20s and I was dating hundreds of women, I was almost psycho about it. I was almost like, if a girl wanted to get married or have a baby, even if I loved her, I still she was kind of my enemy. Like, I'm like, no, I can't do that, And it was like, and then now that I'm older and I look back in retrospect, I think a lot of those girls were very nice and sweet girls too, but I was very touchy about it because I had a lot of things happen to me that got me nervous,
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting too, because like we're in a generation where we keep living longer and longer, and marriage just becomes like a much bigger commitment than it was like 200 years ago.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Like, yeah, like previously, like when you got married when you were like 25, you'd probably live till you were like, what, 65 or 70? And
no. I mean, in
depends how back you go. Yeah.
In 1900, like in India, people only lived to 25 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like just recently humans didn't live that long in many countries.
Wow.
So it depends. I don't know where everybody's from that's listening, but humans just didn't live that long.
Yeah.
Lifespans weren't that long.
Yeah. It's a little bit like it's interesting because it's a little bit like education, where education stayed the same for the last 200 years, and now a lot of people agree that there's other problems with it. So the same thing with marriage. It's kind of like we live in a world where everything changes so fast, and just committing for such a long period of time. Because what else are you committing to in your life? Think about like what other things do you commit till the day you die? Like there's really very few commitments that we are expected to have, and it's just a really big deal. And like for me, like right now I have my first time that I fall in love, and it's beautiful, but it's also at the same time it's really interesting and scary, and like there's a few things that you definitely want to watch out for. This is why I like to hang out with you, like Ronin man, because you have that insight, and you've seen both ways, right? You've seen guys stay single, and you've seen guys get married and stuff like that.
And have kids. What do you think about? Like, what are you worried about now?
So right
like
now,
what do you want to?
What I'd like to ask you is, how do you stay with a girl? So I really like this girl, but I definitely don't want to get married, obviously, and it's not an option right now. But in the future, how do you stay with her without getting married and losing half of your stuff? How do you avoid losing the relationship in the process?
I think, yeah. How do you kind of keep what you want and not give what they're wanting marriage, right? And you're in the same different path. I mean, I think it always comes to a head at some point.
Comes to what?
Comes to a head. It comes to a point where you have to decide.
Okay.
Are you going to stay? And some girls are more hardcore. Like I remember one girl that I really fell in love with. Actually, I really, really fell in love with. She finally said to me one day, she said, "Look, either you're going to marry me or I'm going to marry somebody else." and like no more joking around. Like this is it. You tell me right now if you're going to marry me or not. And I just said I just don't want to get married. And that was the hardest thing for me because I really love this girl.
How long were you together then?
We were together maybe 2-3 years. Not that long. Yeah, it wasn't that long.
That long.
But she was like perfect. I mean, sexual, she was perfect for me, just absolutely perfect for me. Everything that she had was perfect for me, So it was like, that was like really hard for me to give up because I don't know if I'll ever get those exact qualities that she had in another girl. So part of it, the answer is that you can't, right? You have to be willing to let go. You have to be at some point, you have to say, look, this might not last, because if you're not willing to let it go, you may as well get married because that's what you're doing anyway. You know what I mean? Like that, you may as well give in to what you don't want now.
Okay.
Because if you don't have the balls to say no. So you have to to make that decision to yourself that you're just not going to do this right now. And you can always change later if you decide you want to get married. I mean, I definitely, this podcast is definitely not about getting married because I don't see, I mean, I can just look at my life and no matter how much, how awesome a girl was, or woman, however you want to call females, how awesome they were, there was always another one along that would come along that was just awesome too, because I was with, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of girls, right? So I would experience one person and then I would think that this is like so perfect, and then I would meet another person. So that's another way you can inoculate yourself against getting married, is by meeting more girls.
Yeah. Because
you realize that, geez, I mean, they all have kind of special things about them, and that your type might change over time. I remember when I was growing up, I only liked one kind of girl. I swear, I liked girls with no makeup, long hair, and they wore like jeans and like a college sweater or sweatshirt.
No makeup.
No makeup.
Wow.
Like really simple, clean, all American type, or all Japanese, whatever. They were just very simple, and and they were like girl next door, and that's what I just loved. I always loved that kind of girl. And then I remember the first girl I got who was the exact opposite. She was a fire engine. I mean, she always had a shaved pussy. She always had like red hot panties. She always had high heels on every day. She always had. I mean, she had like bunions on her foot from high heels all the time.
Yeah.
And she was 21, you know, and she was a real, like really crazy about sex. We could do anything with her. Like there was nothing that she wouldn't do, and there was no problem. She was like totally happy to do everything, and she was stoked about it. And we had a lot of wild experiences together. And the other thing about her is that she was not a sensitive type, so that you could say kind of whatever. You could kind of like joke, and you could like, she was really like pretty tough in a way, you know. So when I mean, one of the qualities she had, which was funny, was I think, and I don't know if this is true with other girls, but my experience has been, girls that wear high heels always make sure you're satisfied to the end. I swear, I don't know if it's true, but I've seen it so many times, maybe because they're willing to put up with the pain in their feet. That like if you're like not in a good mood, and you're like, you know, you don't want to come that fast, and then she's just going to keep going like for 45 minutes or whatever it is until you finally finish. Like those girls with the high heels, I swear, they're the types that will finish the job no matter what just happened, you know. They're going to finish the frickin' job. And whereas girls next door are more like, oh, I'm tired, or, you know, let's do this another time or whatever, you know. If you've done it, you know, 5 times in one day, the last time it's not that easy to finish off, right? But the girls, the high heel, the red hot girls, they're going to do it. They're going to finish it. That's just the way they are. And they're going to think of something that will make you kind of excited, or say something or do something that will spark you. They're just more sexually, they're more into being sexual, right?
Yeah.
So like I when I was younger and I, you know, only liked the girl next door, I never imagined those other kind of girls would even like me. I think that was part of it.
Okay.
I thought those red hot girls would never like me. I thought I was not cool enough, or, you know, I was not sexy enough or whatever. And when I started to get those kind of girls, I realized I kind of, you know, I really like these girls. Like, they're actually pretty cool. Yeah, the red hot girls are pretty. I really have a soft spot for them. Like, I really understand them now after dating 600 women. I can understand them. Like, they're very like, they're actually very soft inside. You know, they're very sweet girls actually. Those red hot tough ones.
Well,
Yeah.
Define me the stereotype, like the red hot tough one. What is it?
I mean, you know, the girl that you see in the bar you think is a total bitch. You know, she's like super hot. She's dressed like super hot.
Okay.
She is super hot, and she's blowing off guys. I'm talking about that kind of girl.
Okay, I think I saw one yesterday. So
Okay. Yeah, and actually, I think once you actually date them and they like you, it's actually, they're very sweet. I really like those girls, and I never thought I would like that. So I think that's the advantage. You know, how you not get married is by realizing that you don't even know yourself yet.
yeah.
You know, you don't even know what you want. If I would have given in and just gone with these girls, like girl next door, and it had never ever gone past that, I would have really cheated myself, because these other people, you know, humans, they really opened my mind to so many things, and about myself and about them and about life and humor. You know, they're very funny, those girls. They're just more, I think they have a better sense of humor in general, you know. So that if you know that there's more out there, if you know that you're destined to see more as a man, you know, is that you want to see everything. You want to go and do more. You think, well, do I really want to settle down at this time right now? The only thing I'll say is, I'm the only guy I know that is like in my position and like doesn't use condoms. I hate condoms, and doesn't like abortion. Like, I've never been into abortion. I've never been, like, that's never been something I've ever done on purpose. I've never told a girl, yeah, let's go do abortion. I don't know. For me, I'm just not into it. I'm not religious or anything. I just like, I think of myself when I was a kid, and I think of what if people didn't want me? I wouldn't be here, you know? So it doesn't matter. This is not for anybody else. Yeah, but I'm just telling you, like, this is human beings, right? We're complex people that are like, we're on one side and the other. We're not black and white, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm never into abortion. I always, if a girl, I had girls who had abortions and came back and told me, you know, they said, I knew you didn't want to get married, so I had an abortion, and that's why I was gone for 3 weeks. And I remember just like feeling super sad. I had a couple girls say that to me, because they were at that age. I mean, girls usually knew I didn't want to get married, but I never expected them to leave and have an abortion and come back, like that would really, I was really, wow, I was just blown away, So I guess they really liked me and wanted me to be happy by. But actually, if they would have told me, I might have married him. I don't know,
Yeah.
I might have, right? Because I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know, So I think, as much as I don't want to get married, it depends on the situation. I don't want to, there's certain things I would personally take a chance on. And if I ever did get married, I'd want to have like a ton of kids.
Because you love kids, right?
Yeah, I just want to have a bunch of kids. Fuck it. Just have a bunch, and figure out a cheap place that I could raise them, like a place where it's not expensive to raise kids, not some hoity-toity place, But either way, that's just neither here nor there, because that's something I've never done, gotten married. But I think you can inoculate yourself by learning more about women too, because when you're younger, you think women are kind of perfect in a way, they just seem so perfect, right? And they hand out all the goodies in life, and like even if you watch little kids, like girls are always helping each other, little girls, like they're sitting there like 2 years old and they're sitting there like building a castle together, and then the boys are over there fighting and they kick the castle over.
Yeah.
You right?
Yeah.
Like I remember my nieces, they were so cute, they were always doing stuff together, and I was watching them. And I think that got into my mind, is like girls are good and boys are bad. But actually we're just different, and it's based on our chemistry and the way our bodies are made, So I think you don't want to put women on a pedestal, and you want to look at women very, very harsh. And when they do stuff, you want to have a lot of friends that you can talk to about it. Because what happens is the chemicals that are released in your mind, people say like the girl's body or the girl's pussy will mesmerize you. I don't like that. I don't like that analogy myself. I think it's my own chemicals released in my brain from what happens to us physically. Those are the ones that mesmerize me, right? It's these chemicals being released in my brain, So when they're being released, I can't trust myself, right? So I have to go to my friends and talk to my friends, and I need other hardcore friends who are out there and they can bounce it off me. And they can just say, hey, isn't that the same girl who, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh, but, she was like, and they're like, they just smile, And then you're like, and you slowly come to your own conclusions, right? You're like, oh, you're right. She's not, right. Because we forget so fast,
Forget what?
Just something that she did that you didn't like last week. Okay. And then, because you start thinking she's perfect, right? And then, it's good to have friends that are there to remind you of reality. Just to throw water on your face and like kind of wake you up to what's going on.
Wow. That's really cool.
I think friends are super important to not getting married.
That's interesting. And I want to ask like another question, is just by seeing the patterns. So like you have guys that get married and guys that don't. What are like the patterns that you noticed among guys that go their own way and sort of like don't marry, and then the guys that do end up marrying, like in terms of their lifestyle, what they're like 5 years later, and like how fun is it to hang out with them, their hobbies, their happiness, their energy, what's it like?
Ooh, okay. Well, I'll say first that there's many types of guys who go their own way. And there's some guys who do it because they can't do anything else. And there's other guys who are very cool guys, very social, very good with women, and also decide not to go their own way. And I think that's the type of guy you want to be, right?
What?
You have choice with women. You have choice in life. You have choice of professions. You have choice of investments. You have choice because you've succeeded, and you're wanted, right? So but let's just say single and married. I tell you, it's such a huge difference. This is what you don't realize when you're young. But like right now, we're sitting here talking in the park, right? Sun's going down, beautiful night. If you were married, we probably wouldn't be sitting here, because it's Sunday night. Sunday night, married guys they have to be with their wives, generally, right? Now, I know married guys are going to be listening to this saying, no, but it's true. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, I like I say, I'll be 52 this month, and I like, my friends are number one, so I spend a lot of time with my friends, and I can tell you this, that so many of my friends, when they're single, we hang out all the time, Like I love when people come spend the night, people come visit me, people, we hang out, we talk, whatever, we party or whatever, we go do stuff. And then we go, and the thing is, it's just like when people are married, they just don't do it. The married guys just don't have the freaking time, Like when I go home and visit one of my best friends, I see him once every 2 weeks, because his wife, I think she gets a bit jealous of our relationship. 'Cause we've been friends since we're like 4th grade, you know. So like the big difference between single and married is that when you're married, your time is really not your own anymore, and especially once you have kids. There's the rare guy who has a lot of free time because he's quite rich, and there is the rare, like, strong married guy who can stand up for himself and actually doesn't let his schedule be run by anybody but himself. So I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying that every single guy is cool and wants to go hang out and do cool things, because that's definitely not the case. But I'm saying the pressure is there. I mean, like, some guys with no legs get into the Olympics, the Special Olympics, and win a gold medal. But most people with no legs never get in the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Because it slows you down, right? It makes it harder to be motivated, harder to earn a living, and so life is harder, right? So I'm just saying the general rule, if you're married, and you can watch this in your friends, is no matter how cool they are, if they get married, they just slowly drift away. The women want to control them. They want to control their time. They want them to be only with them. They don't want them to be out there talking to new people. It's just the way women are. It's just they end up controlling the guy's time, and
Jesus.
It
sounds scary and sad.
It's just the truth, though. It's like, like in Thailand here, they always have you send a picture of where you are. It's like a surveillance. It's like the NSA.
Yeah.
They just want to they want to make sure you're not with another girl, right? So it's like, this is all my friends in Thailand. And especially when you're married, it's even worse. But
what's it like when they're married? Like, they're just more in pictures all the time?
When they're married, they just never. I mean, like, my married friends here, you just never see them. Very rarely. Very rarely. My single friends, we end up going out all the time, right? But no, I mean, it's a lot of reasons, But I wish it wasn't this way. But if you want to have a free life, you want to go your own way. You want to have women in your life, have love in your life, and then be confident enough that when that love goes away for whatever reason, that more love will come up, and that it's going to be okay. You're good. You're fine. And whatever stage in life you're at, it's going to be fine. It's going to be, you're going to be okay. Even if you're 60 years old and your wife leaves or your girlfriend leaves, is that it's going to be fine. Go to the gym, go do your thing. Naturally, something, good things will happen, and you'll start to, maybe even you'll start traveling more, going out and venturing out and seeing new things and pushing yourself into new environments, right? Where it doesn't happen when you're happy in a relationship,
Yeah, this is really interesting, this topic of like the growth curve, like once you get married, because when you think about when you get married, it's sort of like the definition of what happens is like it's settling down, like it's going down, right? It's not going up. It's sort of like it marks some sort of like pause in your growth. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a bit scary if you want your freedom. It is definitely something, like, for me, like, I still don't have an opinion. I just know that I don't know. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just think about this in 10 years, but for now, like, not getting married.
Yeah, I mean, I have one really good friend. He's married, and he really is happy married, and he's doing his thing, and whenever I see him, it's with his wife, and he always makes time for me, and I go stay with him, and we hang out, and she's always there, and she's awesome, and she's a real trooper. We can laugh together and joke together, and she's very cool. So there is this is a very rare guy, by the way. This is not your normal guy.
Okay.
This is a very cool guy with a very unusual career and very unusual situation. Yeah, I mean, there is the rare situation, but
It is very rare.
yeah, I mean, you can't, if you think you are going to be the exception in every situation, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
Like, some guy fell out of an airplane with no parachute, and he landed in a tree, and all he did is break his arm or something.
Really?
Yeah, because he landed on a big branch. It was just big enough that it broke when he hit it, but it broke his fall. And then he hit the ground and broke his arm. I think he broke one arm and his hip or something.
Wow.
And he flew out of, like, way up, somewhere up there, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, you can live falling out of an airplane with no parachute, but if you think that you're going to be that guy who's going to fall the parachute, fly out of an airplane and live, you're out of your mind, right?
Yeah.
You might end up being that guy, like, just by total luck, but don't bet on it. Don't bet on that you're going to be that guy that's going to be married and totally happy and cruising around. I mean, like, that's not a good bet. That's Vegas would say that's long odds, right? On that.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Great. I'm not sure what else I want to ask for now. Like, I really think there was like a lot to think about.
All right. Well, yeah, it's I mean, marriage is a big issue. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's obviously some people fall into it for whatever reason. And like I said, there are cool chicks, but I personally, I'm into being single. I love being single. The girls that I date, they know that I'm this way, and they're cool with it. In fact, I think in general, the girls I date, they know I'm like impossible to tame.
Mm-hmm.
They just know that. And I think that's what they like about me.
Mm-hmm.
They just know this guy has had many girls try to marry him. And like, he's not like a guy that girls didn't want, but he just won't do it. He just won't. This guy just won't do it. And I think they like that about me. It's like, because it is me. It is me. I have this natural resistance, and I want to be free. And I think a lot of my girlfriends, when they finally do leave, they say, basically, I want to see you always happy. I want to see you always free and doing your thing. I've had girls tell me that as they leave, and I think that's like a huge compliment.
Yeah,
it's
very nice.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, because I think that's really what I want too. And if a girlfriend that I'm breaking up with after like say 10 years, says that, it's really a cool thing, right? Because I mean, she really got to know me, and at the same time now she realizes she wants to do something else, or she wants to have kids, so she's gonna marry some other guy to have kids, and I'm always cool with that. I'm always like, if a girl really wants to have kids, I'm always like, you totally should do that. Like before it's too late, like go find a guy, we can still be friends, but you find a guy that you want to have kids with, because if a girl tells you, hey, I really want to have kids, doesn't necessarily mean that she wants it with me. I mean, she thinks she does.
Yeah.
But she realizes there's a lot of guys out there too that she could date, and I'm totally cool with that because I don't want to have kids. So I mean, as much as I love kids, that's not my goal right now. So I think she should go do it, because otherwise I have this kind of like guilt around me if I stay with a woman past her childbearing ages, and then she can't, and then I feel kind of bad, right? It's kind of like, because I've dated a lot of women at the same time, so some of them have gotten past that age, and I did feel, and I learned the hard way, like I really want them to be happy. I want them to do what they want to do.
How did you learn the hard way? Did you have like a woman get like too old to have kids and then get upset at you, or what?
No, just watching her, and I just felt sad for her afterwards,
Oh, okay.
that she didn't have kids, and it would have been a lovely mom, and she wanted to be a mom,
Well, why can't they adopt? I know it's not the same thing.
Her culture, it's not really common in that culture where she lives, so that's the main thing.
What's it like in Western society? Because I know like infertility among women is increasing.
Yeah, I mean, well, they can have kids, but I mean the risks are higher, and that's why we have so many, kids that are Down syndrome now and stuff, because everybody's having kids older. The man's age and the woman's age affect the kid. So it's something that you should really think about. Like if I do have kids, I'm gonna pick a very young woman to have kids with, because I'm older. So I know that my side is a little bit risky, and I know men affected too. Not as much as the woman, from what I've read, but still very much affected. So I definitely want to get a super fertile young woman if I do get married. So, but yeah, I want the girls to be happy. I want them to do, if they really want that, I want to help them do that. And that gives me happiness too. And also I feel like I got out of the lion's den again.
Yeah.
Well, I could still be good and get her where she wanted to go.
Yeah.
And often girls, once they want to get married and they're at that period in their life, often guys are somewhat interchangeable for them at that period.
What do you mean by interchangeable?
Well, I mean, like, if you really want to get married and you want to have kids and you want to be a mother, like the husband, who it is not that big a deal, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it matters, but it matters, but it's much more important to have the kids than.
Shit, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of like, women are basically, they're pretty happy if they have the kids and the guy has a job and now they finally are a mother and they're happy with that. I mean, of course they do care which guy, but it's not as much as you would think.
Yeah.
So part of being, like, I think free is you have to have, your pride cannot be big. You cannot think, I own these people, or I'm in control. None of this stuff. It's like I'm always there. If something happens, it's totally fine, and I'm just gonna roll on. And I'm confident that I know that something very sweet and good is gonna happen to me in the near future. So it's like, okay, let's rock and roll. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's focus on work for a while. Let's do that project I've wanted to do for a while. So okay, all right, cool. Well, hey, thanks for listening to the 34 minutes and long episode. And please put down any questions, or if you want me to do another episode based on that. And I want to say thank you for interviewing me. I appreciate you taking the time.
No worries. I had a great time. I learned so much.